Medicare says you can only bill X amount of dollars. So it's really, really hard to keep up with, the corporate world. When supplies go up, demand goes up, you raise the price. In the healthcare arena, the government tells you what the price is going to be, so you can't really raise the price and get reimbursed for it when those things happen. So.
Can you give the council an idea where all the ambulance bays are and how that works too?
So we have two bays at the hospital. So we have 2 ambulances there. We should back up a little bit. 24/7, we have 4 ambulances. 24/7, we have one at the hospital, one at the station in Huntingburg, one at the station in Ferdinand, and one at the station in Du Bois. The Du Bois station is getting ready. Hopefully, we'll be in the new station by July, August timeframe. But we're up there. Met with Steve a couple weeks ago, and we walked through there just to the point where they're starting to drywall walls. So, and then there's an extra ambulance at the hospital, and then there's one at Ferdinand and one at Huntingburg. And so we have a 5th crew on during the day at the hospital from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So we operate 5 ambulances during the day and 4 ambulances in the evening. And sometimes those aren't enough. We had instance last week it was, myself and my manager took a run with the 3rd ambulance that we had over at Huntingburg because we were all out of ambulances. So that's kind of been a common occurrence. That's why we went to add the 5th ambulance. So, which was a result of the 5,970 runs that we had. So
4 of a night, and then you said what was the 5th one during the
the
day?
5th one's at the hospital still.
Okay.
And it's from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So it's a 12-hour shift there. So, but we always keep 2 ambulances in the county at all times. So if we have transfers going from hospital to hospital, even we may have 4 transfers waiting, but there's only going to be 2 go out at a time. So we always have 2 ambulances here, 4 911 calls.
Okay, so you're thinking ultimately a 5th ambulance for night? Is that what I was catching?
No, we just have it during the day right now. I don't know that we have a position that we're going to move tonight unless it gets a lot busier.
Okay.
You're just asking for us to purchase one to
Yes,
replace
we're
this 5th
replacing
one.
just for replacement of the.
Because we have 7 that are in the fleet. That are
Yes.
rotating. Okay.
So we have 5 on during the day, and then typically the way things have been going, like we got one at Styling right now that's waiting on brakes, and so it's taking a week to get brakes.
I'll see one parked in Ireland on occasion.
Yeah.
You know,
So whenever one breaks down, and so we rotate them through. We do we got them on a service schedule, so we'll rotate the crews around and get them serviced at those type of things.
Is the relationship going to change with Deaconess buying out the hospital or Memorial or whatever that relationship is?
I don't foresee that happening. Get anything can change, but in regards to this, so the hospital was good about being upfront with staff. So we're just at a commitment stage. So they have a letter of intent. They haven't worked out any of the definitive details, and so they're not expecting it's probably going to be a year's time before they work out that definitive detail and sign a contract with them to be partnered with. So it's probably going to be at least a year while we're still Memorial. Okay. And then once that year goes by, most places don't say anything until that definitive agreement's signed, and you come into work and we're partnered with so and so now, and here's what's going to happen. They chose not to do that. They chose to announce it early, but there's not a lot of information in that regard for that. So
nothing will change at least through 23.
No. And even at that point, I think there's a few years after that where the commitment is made that we're not going to make any big changes. The other thing to know about that is, so Deaconess is partnered with several hospitals in Illinois. They partnered with Henderson Hospital in Kentucky, Perry County, and then Gibson General in Princeton. And the word from those folks when administrative folks reached out to them was they don't micromanage us. They haven't changed much with our operations. And so they aren't expecting that there's going to be, I'm sure there's going to be changes, but I don't think it's going to be that Deaconess comes in and says, we're going to take over your ambulance service. One, they don't have staff to do it because the ambulance arena is hurting right now with staffing. So, and to be honest, again, I don't know why they would rock the boat because they've got a good thing here. When the county pays for the capital, the hospital takes care of the service, why would they want to upset that? I don't know any other, county that does that. Most counties operate their own and they pay for their own. So I think it's a win-win for the hospital and the county on both sides. So that's just my take. I'm sure there's gonna be change. What that'll be, we're not, Meredith can vouch, we're not privy to that information. I
We'll
don't
just
think
right
they
now,
know.
Ryan said this,
Yeah. I don't think they know at this point. I think they're still trying to work the details out. Again, it's just a letter of intent that this is who the partner's gonna be. So.
Any other questions for them?
Yeah, so you said you guys were gonna kind of sit and wait and see how the box, when you switch out the box on the different chassis, do you think there's gonna be enough time? Because that's gonna be late in 2023, and then you're gonna probably need to replace for the 26 next year at this time.
Yeah,
I would think if timing, do you think that's
Yeah,
enough
so-
time to kind of see how it works out?
that's a good
A
question.
couple of months or?
I don't know. I think it's gonna be how happy we are with this for the first few months. If we start having trouble already, then we're probably gonna say this probably was a good idea. But from their standpoint, they warranty the box, lifetime warranty, so from what they do from the remount, so, it's still gonna be under warranty. It's not gonna cost us anything, it's just gonna be, is
Because of
it,
the pain.
is it gonna be, we're having to take it out of service all the time to get this fixed or that fixed or whatever. The truck's gonna
I didn't
be-
know if that was gonna give you guys enough time, because it just kind of seemed like a really tight.
It's, and the other thing is, it's all gonna, because it was supposed to be remounted and back to us in November. I think they're questioning that now, and so it may get pushed back further. So we may get the new truck, that we bid out before we get the remount. I don't know. It's just kind of, gonna be depending on what happens.
I'm gonna guess that remount's gonna be a pretty good program.
I would think so. I mean, you're investing in the metal that you have in the box, is basically what you're doing, and that's what you have. So it's kind of dumb every year to,
To take that
To
and
take that
recycle
out.
it when it's in good shape.
so.
Any other questions for Ryan?
I got one. So I was looking at the maintenance records and it looked like you're starting to get a lot of diesel emissions issues around 250 to 300,000 miles. So it's about 350 pretty standard whether you're going to get to
Probably track you will. We try to rotate the trucks, as you can see that we've got, both 2019s on the bottom of the list there. One's got 106,000 and then the other one's got 39,000. So we try to rotate them out a bit. Actually, the one there that's got the 106,000, that was the one that we had the engine replaced at 88,000. So really it's only got 20-some thousand miles on it. On the new engine that was put in it, and it was under warranty, so that didn't cost us anything. But we try to do that, but it's all dependent on what stations that it's at. So the outside stations do a lot of our transfers, so those trucks get high mileage because they're going to Indy, they're going to Louisville, they're going to Evansville, 5-6 times a week. Whereas the two trucks at the hospital, they typically just do local 911 calls. Honeywell's truck does that. That's how it was set up prior to this year. Now this year, with adding the 5th ambulance, we've done a little bit different rotation. So each truck takes a transfer at some point in time during the day if we have 5 transfers. So it kind of gives the crews a little bit of a break. And then those outside trucks come to Huntingburg or come to Jasper then to take the 911 calls. So we're not having EMS fatigue is a big thing right now. And if you take a transport to Indy in the morning and you come back and you maybe do a 911 call or two, and then at 9 p.m. that night, then you get another transport to Indy and you have to go back to Indy, then you're going on 18, 20 hours in an ambulance. And, that's the last thing that we want to have happen is now we're screwing up our rotation here because somebody fell asleep and wrecked the ambulance, and now we're down an ambulance. So we've went to that. I think that'll change the mileage factor on a lot of them. I think you'll see more of an equal mileage throughout all of them. But typically once we hit a certain mileage, we try to rotate those around.
That's good idea. Anything else? I mean, it's some great questions, I think, really great questions. So do we just have a consensus that we want to advertise for $350,000 for a new ambulance in 2025, right?
And I'm assuming you want to use Cume Cap funds.
In Cume Cap fund, so let's have a show of hands, who would be in favor of that? Looks like it, everyone, so. Ryan, unless you got something else,
No.
we'll move forward with it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nathan, are you ready? Nathan, if you would introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm Nathan Held with Indiana 15 Regional Planning Commission. I'm here tonight for a few reasons. First of all is to introduce myself as the new director of Indiana 15. Lisa Gelhausen, who has been our director for the last 18 years, I believe. She's been there 45 years. She transitions into retirement over the next year. She has stepped down as director. So as of the first of the year, I've taken over that role. And so I'm getting out to all of our communities, all of the counties, and just saying hi. I'm also, we are moving into, well, we are now in our 50th anniversary year. So we're getting out and refreshing everyone's memory on what we do as an organization. So I have handed out a little packet here. The first page is a frequently asked questions. What is Indiana 15? How are we funded? And then the second page, what do we do? So we work with our communities and our counties to prioritize needs, and then also work to bring in the federal and state funding to help those projects come about. We are, let's see, moving on. Don't want to take up too much time tonight, but moving on into the packet, I do have 2010 through 2022, the projects that we have worked on in the county. As part of our role as a regional planning commission, the state statute outlines provisions for a per capita fee. And so each one of our 6 counties pays in that per capita fee on an annual basis. And we put this sheet together specifically for DuBois County, going over a lot of the projects that make up the per capita. It's a return on investment. So when we work on a project, when it shows up on this sheet, that means it was funded in that year. But usually, as far as project development, it takes up to a year to develop a project, and then once it gets funded, another 2 to 3 years to carry it out. So when it's reflected on here, that just means that was funded that year. But we've usually been working on it for a year at that point, and then we continue working on it. So you can see for 2022, the projects that were funded last year. And then we also have some that we're working on for 2023. And some of these are in various stages of development. It may not actually happen in 23, but that's just to keep it on there to show that we are working towards that. On the next page, we have an outline of the per capita dues for each county. And at our January board meeting, our board of directors voted to move forward with proposing an increase to the per capita fee. We're only proposing it at this point. It will be formally presented during budget sessions later in the year. So we're not asking for any approval tonight. But previously, for the last couple of years, the per capita fee has been 56 cents. And what we use the per capita fee for, we receive 2 planning grants. We have to apply for these, but each year, NDOT, as we are rural planning organization through NDOT. So they give us a planning grant to go out and do traffic counts throughout the region, and also some other support for NDOT and for providing some services to the communities in our region. We also receive a planning grant through the Economic Development Administration as part of our role as being an economic development district through EDA, which is through the U.S. Department of Commerce. And this is the grant that we use to be able to go out into the region and work on a lot of the upfront project development at no cost to the counties or the communities. But both of those require matches. And so we apply the per capita fee, leverage all that together as the match for those grants. What has happened now, though, EDA comes in on a 3-year cycle. The last 3-year cycle, we were on a 60-40 grant. So we only had to provide a 40% match. So for the next 3 years, they've come back. They look at different factors, and so some of the distress criteria has changed. And so now we're at a 50-50, so we have to provide 50% match. On top of that, last year, as of this year, we started using the 2020 census numbers. Overall in the region, the census numbers, the population has dropped a little bit. Not significantly, but just enough to throw off the numbers. So at this point, the per capita that we are collecting is not enough to cover the match for both of those grants. So for 2024, we are proposing an increase to 65 cents, which would then take us, and you can see the total there at the bottom of that page. That would then be enough to cover the match for those 2 planning grants. And so that's what we will be proposing later in the year. The last 2 pages has, starting from 2010 and working through 2022, and you can see what is collected from each county and the grant funds received for each county for each year. So over the last 50 years, we have worked to bring in over $150 million in grant funds to the region, and that's through over 700 projects. So we're very proud of that. And DuBois County specifically, it has been $33 million, a little over $33 million in grant funds. So we look forward to continuing that into the future. So, and I did forget to mention that I'm not new to Indiana 15. I have been there for 17 years. So there's no huge learning curve as far as what's going on in the region. Because I've been involved in a lot of that over the years. So that's all I have tonight. And unless anyone has any questions or comments.
I mean, the only question I would have is that the fee that's not set by the state, then region?
We set that, the code actually sets a base of 30 cents. And then anything above that is approved on, county level.
Individual counties.
Right. Now, we do, when we propose this, it does have to be across the board. All 6 counties have to approve this 65 cents. If one of the counties says no, then none of our counties would increase. Just because it's on a regional basis and all counties have to agree.
Okay, so, all right. Well, thanks for explaining that. So, any questions, Nathan?
I might say, I think it's a valuable resource that we have. I remember when I was in elementary school, not to get long-winded, but Dick Henderson, when it was called Patoka Lake Regional Planning Commission, my mom was the secretary when she was, when I was in grade school, when they were working to develop Patoka Lake. And I would say probably without the Regional Planning Commission then, it wasn't called Indiana 15, called Patoka Lake. That without that commission, I don't think Patoka Lake would probably be here yet today.
Yeah.
I've heard that story because think they said it in one of the meetings.
Yeah, I remember that, I'm in elementary school, mom's coming home talking about that. We actually then went up with trucks and helped move the farmer, bought a farm right next to ours. When they got displaced, they were, what's now underwater. So that was a significant deal back then.
Yeah, and I've heard Dick Henderson's name a lot. He's kind of held up as
Oh,
one
yeah.
of the examples, so, yeah.
But anyway, so I think you're serving a great purpose yet, or at least I hope you continue to do it, because that's a good example of it.
That's what we hope to continue. We are putting together our new 5-year Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, or SEDS. And so that's going to be completed here in March and approved by EDA in April. So that's going to set out our next 5 years and where our focus is going to be. But it's still going to continue on trying to find those resources.
Anyone else? Otherwise, I really appreciate you coming in and explaining it and introducing yourself, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, have a good evening.
You too.
Sheriff, or Betty, we're a little bit behind, but not much, but.
Do what?
I said we're a little bit behind, but.
No, I think it's pretty good.
So, first of all, happy birthday.
Well, thank you. I did not print off a copy. I know that I sent one in an email last time, but I'm here to talk about vehicle funding. So, like I explained the last time, is we signed an agreement, kind of sort of an agreement. So we had looked at John Jones and he asked about what we would think about next year. Fine, this was last year, August, and I put down 6. I don't anticipate needing 6, but it was for them to order because they can't just get vehicles like they used to. The price that he quoted me, and I did talk to him today, I'm sorry, was it's still good. So it's $41,955 for the Durangos. And then one of the Durangos, which is unmarked, it's a different color. And that's why it's, what is that, about $400 more just for a different color. That takes care of the 6. But the price that he shot was $252,125. And then I know that I talked to Mike on the phone the other day, and we would ask somewhere around $8,000 to $10,000 is typically what it costs to take the equipment out of the one that we're trading, putting it into the new one. So I'm requesting just an even $300,000. I do not know, and I do not think that we will need the whole $300,000, but that's what I would be requesting.
So, any questions of the sheriff?
Just because I don't know, how many vehicles are in the inventory, like the Durangos, cars and all? We have the road vehicles, if you will.
Yes, so we have, I have to think about this, I think 28
Okay.
is what we have. Sandy might know. I believe it's 28
I know I should
total
probably know
cars.
this already, but I don't.
Every deputy has one, so that's 22. And we have some that are pool cars, which essentially when somebody goes to the shop, they get a car, yeah.
What's the rotation like? What are they normally?
4 to 5 years.
You have 29 vehicles.
29 vehicles.
One of those is that Camry that, was it from a drug
Oh, yeah,
arrest? One of those is the vehicle, the sheriff, the van that brings
Yeah.
prisoners up.
yeah, I forgot about the Camry. That was a drug seizure
Yes.
vehicle.
Yeah.
But typically 4 to 5 years we keep them, and we run, most of the equipment that we put in them will last 2 cycles. And that's kind of why we go on a 4 to 5 year, because we'll look at how much the car is depreciating, how much we spent last year for that car, whether we think we can get another year out of it without spending
Yeah.
10, 12, or having a motor blow or something like that. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. And now with this day and age is, I was talking to Glenn today, it's like, well, 3 of the cars have VIN numbers now, which means they'll probably be built May area, maybe be ready in June. but then it could be August or September until they're transported. So it's not like it was 3 or 4 years ago where you wanted a car, you went and got one. It's now you're having to plan a year out. And so even if the best plan we have today is we might have 2 that we think we're gonna get rid of, we may end up keeping them because they're end up being better than something down the road. So it's really hard to plan to what you're gonna get rid of until we have the cars and then we say, okay, this is what we're gonna get rid of.
Can you explain, I guess, your rotation? In other words, do you trade vehicles in then, the older ones?
Yes.
So you get some money for that?
Right, yeah.
A discount off of it?
We actually did keep one, last year. It was the Ford Taurus. They only would have given us $3,000 for that car. So we ended up just taking that car, keeping it, and then we're sending the guys, when Trevor went to the academy, he drove that every day down and back and forth. Instead of putting miles on a good car, we just let him use that one. And then we're gonna keep that one again, because it's like, we might as well keep that one until the wheels fall off of it. If that's gonna be the academy car where they can just drive back and forth and put miles on it to Evansville every day versus a newer car. But typically, yeah, I mean, that's what we intend to do, is just to trade off what we can, unless they just don't give us a very good trade-in value and we think we have another use for it.
I mean, your goal last year, I thought, was to keep maybe 4 vehicles in
Right.
the pool, carpool.
And we still have that, plus the Taurus.
Okay, so you think with this 6 vehicles, will that increase the pool?
No, I don't intend to. I would want to keep the 4. And then, so when we get the 4, like if the 3 come in, we'll take those 3 that are pool cars now, we'll stripe them, and then they can go straight to the road guys. And then as they get outfitted, then they'll be back in the pool. That's why, and if we did go with more than 4, it would be probably because someone's car is just completely shot, but I don't intend to keep any more than 4 as a pool. And that would probably even decrease if the funding comes through for the new officers.
So do the new cars go into the pool then, or they come off the road from a?
We used to do the older cars would, and then we found out that was costing us more money because they treat them, the vehicles get treated better and they're run. By the time you take them off the road, they're ready to get shot. So we put them on as a pool vehicle, and then when somebody drove it, then they would drive it as you do on a normal police officer, and then they would blow the engine, and then it was costing us more money doing that way. So I took 4 brand new vehicles and put them as pool vehicles, and that way when the deputies trade their older cars in, they just take one from the pool, and our jail staff and transport staff uses them, the new vehicles, keeps less miles on them, gets them broke in by the time the new deputies take them. Seems to work out a lot better.
Then one other question here for me. There's about $265,000 in the commissary fund.
Mhm.
I mean, would you entertain that, buying a vehicle out of that?
Yes, I have, and plan on it. So one of our, actually, Jesus's car is into the point of needing to be replaced. So I want to go to the commissioners and get the approval to add another vehicle there also, and that would come out of the commissary fund, which that's why I'm not requesting that one to be placed into this one. These are just for the patrol units.
What is Jesus? What does he drive?
He drives it's a Durango right now, but it's a civilian model Durango. It's an older one. I don't even.
2016.
2016.
All right.
And I will probably, I mean, if he does get a new one, which he will get a new one, it probably will not. It won't be a police car. It'll be a civilian model. And like all of the detectives now too, we're transitioning them away from police vehicles because they're expensive, and we can get the state bid on a civilian model cheaper than we can get a police vehicle on a state bid.
Okay. All right. That's anybody else?
Are you able then, like the detectives and Jesus. So if they're not a police vehicle, if they're more of a private, are they still able to make calls? I mean, do they
Yeah,
have lights and everything?
Yeah, as long as it's either or in the state of Indiana, you either have to be in a uniform or you have to be in a marked vehicle. And you can take calls. So if they're, I mean, we've gotten this through, the prosecutor basically says what they would allow for us to be in uniform to take that. But we're not gonna make, they're not doing the traffic stops or anything. They'll go assist in a call, but they're not gonna be the ones running lights and sirens and all that, so.
Well, that's why I was just kind of curious, if they were out and about, whatever come up on an accident, if they're in civilian clothes in a private vehicle that are,
They are, but they'll have their radio and they'll have lights too.
okay, that's what they do have
Yeah,
lights.
we'll put lights in
I'm just
there.
asking, I'm just trying to.
No, you're, absolutely.
Okay.
Could you help me understand something else, Tom? Still being kind of new here to the council. As I recall, last month, we had discussed, where that topic had come up on maybe potentially putting off the purchase of those. We were discussing that potential increase in salaries for some of the members of your team. Does this change your feelings, I guess, now, or why the change of feelings, I guess, or how does this affect the number of vehicles?
Well, I think I would still entertain that, but I don't want to get, and I think Councilman Moore and Councilman Cleason both stated that they thought we would get behind in our rotation, so
Mhm.
I would still entertain the possibility of that.
Okay.
And I think it's more or less now, if we do go through with this, and it would be probably the Chargers of what we have now. They're not as good a vehicle as the Durangos. So when the time comes for them to come down and look at them to give us a price of a trade-in price, if that price isn't good enough, or if it's not valuable enough to where it makes a difference, then we'll probably try to keep them and utilize them some other way. And possibly if we do get the new guys, it might be that first year of using it when you're not really out there on your own, but you are needing a car to figure out everything else. So it'd be kind of one of those. And that's kind of what I had in my head with if this would go through. Actually, that's not true. I would keep them where they're at, but I think we can get by. And we would have gotten by with another year of that, so.
So much difference between the Charger and Durango as far as price?
No, it's not, price-wise, they're not, but county usage there is. I mean, the Durango has a lot, it sits higher, the Chargers drag up and,
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking, the Durango.
they started off a couple of years ago, Darrell, as a lot of difference, and they're gradually catching up, and I really don't know why.
I would think.
They got a market right now where, that's really, besides going to something like a Tahoe, that's where the market's at in the Chrysler, so you're having to.
You mean differences price-wise, the Durango
Yeah.
is much more than the
The
Chargers?
Chargers and the Durangos are not much more difference.
In the past, you said there was a big
There used to
difference,
be.
and now they're kind of,
The
so is
Charger
it just
caught
that
up
the
with the
Chargers
Durango?
becoming more expensive, or is it the Durangos just?
The Chargers went up, the Durangos have stayed
kind of
pretty
staying the
much.
same?
I think when we started getting them, they were, I want to say 38, 39, maybe 40,000, so they haven't went up much. But the Chargers were 33, and now they're like 38 or 39.
And that's not equipped yet.
That's not equipped.
Before you put the 8 or 10,
Yep.
all the.
Do you get a better trade-in value with the Durango?
Yes,
I mean, I know on a personal side,
and
usually.
I shouldn't say that, I know other agencies are, we haven't traded a Durango in yet, but I know other agencies have told me we're not gonna get much for the Chargers. And that's why we should all go to Durangos. And there's a lot of agencies going to the trucks, but I just don't see a value in the trucks over the Durangos right now.
And I'm assuming they're probably a lot more.
They're a lot more.
So,
I would think so too. I mean, just a more popular vehicle overall.
Yeah, they hold up better.
Yeah.
And the resale, obviously.
So, yeah, and all that stuff.
So, there's I guess that's Chrysler that sells those, do they have like a captive market in Indiana,
Well, the state police put out, I can't think of the word now, but specifications on what they need. And Ford has the Explorer, and you can say why theirs is $10,000 more a vehicle. I don't know why, but they are. So state says now that we're gonna go, they're going to Chrysler. And what I say by the state is typically the state police or state employees. So they will go, they have had the Chrysler bid for the last several years, which means that anybody in our agency or cities or anything else can get a state bid. Like Ford, you can't go there and get a state bid because they don't have the state,
Okay.
So that's why they're, the state bid is this for a Durango 41955. But if a Explorer might be 53,000 because they're not on a state bid.
Okay.
So yes,
Thanks for explaining.
realistically, yeah, they got the market right now. Where years ago, when I first started, Ford did, and that's why we had Crown Victorias all the time, because Ford had the state bid, and that's where everything was. So in a couple of years, it might be Ford, Chevy, who knows?
That's interesting.
Is John Jones the only game in town? Because
No.
I drive by that dealership and you see 200 police cars and it's kind of a unique thing. I've seen one other one like that in Tennessee, but I didn't know where else you could get that one or.
Like, we actually also, Washington Chrysler can get them. Sternbergs can get them.
You kind of answered that when you said you could do the civilian outfits. So
Yeah.
it's just a unique place, I guess. I see that.
So basically, John Jones deals in just police vehicles at his one shop in Bedford, I guess it is. And so then he'll have 200 police vehicles sitting there. And he also offers that, like, since he has so many, if we wreck one, for an example, and we total it and we call him up and say, I need a new one, he'll give us a new one and then just make someone else wait, so to speak, or order another one. Where, yeah, I can go get them at Sternberg's or Washington Chrysler, but if we wreck one, we're crap out of luck, we just gotta wait. So,
Well, tonight you would have to go to the commissioners, right, to get approval on this yet?
yeah, I don't know if I want to do that quite yet, because I don't know what, I don't know what I want to do. So I kind of just wanted the money there so that when we do have the vehicles ready to go, then I can go to the commissioners when we figure out what we want to trade and stuff like that. Have more of a definitive answer for them than just to say, now, the same as I would tell you, is I don't know what I want to get rid of or what we need to get rid of. So if the money's there, that would just give me a shortcut and when I do have the vehicles, or do know what the vehicles are.
Okay. So when we, I guess for the rest of us, I think in past years when we did the budgeting, we used to put in so many dollars, I think, in your budget or the commissioner's budget that they could, so, pardon me?
In the Kim Cap budget.
Yeah, so, just so you understand, if we do this, then we're releasing, for him to do what he wants.
Is this already in the budget?
No.
No,
It's not in the budget.
It's just like the ambulance, we have to make now we would have a consensus tonight and then advertise it and vote on it at our next meeting.
So typically this happens during the budgeting process or not?
it used to.
It used to, and we pulled it, I think we pulled it out of the budget, so we would know when they're, and I think the commissioners have to approve the purchases yet. But I think this is the step.
Yeah, the commissioners they're the purchasing agent, so they have to give him permission to purchase because it's an over $50,000 purchase.
Yes.
Or a big $5,000 purchase or whatever.
So it's I guess I should say tonight's a little bit in reverse. A lot of times you get permission to do it and we found that we're doing it a little bit in reverse. So, but if we feel that his department needs 6 vehicles, then we have, and we should.
I would appreciate you not looking at it as saying 6 vehicles, just look at the price and just approve a price. And then if I can get 5 vehicles out of it, I'll get 5. I will not get more than 6, but I'm not sitting here saying I want 6 because I'm not sure that, I really don't think we'll need 6. That was just what I put down on this, water farm. Plus, if they give us good prices for trade-ins, then obviously it's gonna knock off the value. So I don't want, I guess I don't wanna get caught up in saying we want 6 vehicles, because that's not necessarily true. That makes sense?
That quote is for if we were to get 6.
That quote is for 6, yes.
But
Yes.
if you get 5, that would be 42,000 or
Right.
52,000 less.
Less,
Because you got.
yes.
Yeah, okay. That's the most it could be, but it could be less.
It will, yeah, I will assure you that it will be less, I just don't know what the price would be.
So any more discussion on this?
So we're needing to decide this because there's some VIN numbers and that's why we're kind of getting out of order. And that way you've got the flexibility when they call and say, hey, we've got 3,
Yes,
that we need to take them up or else you lose your place in line or something really.
yeah, I would assume so, I don't know how that really works.
I'm just trying to
No, that's a good
understand.
question, because I mean, I think, it's $300,000, so, so, I mean, we all know.
That's a ton of money.
We all know what we're doing here, so, but, otherwise I'll just, if no other discussion, questions, I'll just have a show of hands here, consensus of who wants to approve this.
I would just say that, with the new officer request potentially, public safety tax, I'd like to see you get some new officers, some degree of pay raise, so I may not be for this vehicle request and that amount.
Well, I guess, after the commissioner meeting
Yeah.
last week, 2 of the commissioners decided to wait on that until funding. One commissioner did approve it. So what's the next step on that?
There's a lot going on. I was gonna kind of see, excuse me, how the public safety tax thing went down and there's just a few moving parts. I don't know. Mike or Ryan may know more than I do. I can't say.
Well,
But I guess what I'm saying is if I could see you guys have more morale from pay, a bigger police force, and we got old Crown Vics off the internet, that's the way I feel. I know it sounds crazy, but I know you need those other things really bad, so. Or to some degree.
Well, look, I don't know if this would help you or not, but maybe it wouldn't be as far as me looking at trading vehicles if we would get 4 of the new ones or 5 of the new Durangos and we keep the Chargers, because I don't feel like we're gonna get a good trade-in value. And if we do get the officers and all that, then we would have vehicles that we wouldn't have to take off the top end on. That would be something that would be out of, off of that request sheet.
Like a rookie vehicle.
Yeah. Until we can get into more of a rotation with those also.
I think also, isn't the pool of money of where we get the money for the vehicles a different area than the pay and where, so it really can't mix and match in that way. So either the money's for vehicles or money's for another department's, the two. Right. Like Q cap and all that, we can't just say, we're gonna save this money and then use this money for
Right.
pay, because it has to be used for specific things, so.
Okay, so public safety tax could be used for vehicles.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I would assume that it could,
I
I
would
guess.
assume it
I should assume that could, yeah, but we
You're
can't say
saying
we're
it
gonna
could.
save money on
Yeah.
buying these vehicles and putting it towards paying for new officers. That, the opposite way can't happen.
QCAP takes in an average of about $750,000 a year. So if you just did an ambulance for 300 and you do that, you've pretty much wiped out what it takes out for the whole year. But that is not used for salaries, you're correct.
And the vehicles typically come out of the Cume Cap fund?
Usually it's bigger pieces of equipment, like any type of highway equipment, any type of sheriff vehicles, any kind of computer equipment,
The ambulance
servers,
that Ryan requested.
ambulances, it's always big capital. That's what Cume Cap is.
We just basically dedicated half
And it has a budget this year, so what we budgeted, I don't have that.
Are these in the budget already typically?
No,
or-
they're not.
No, right now we have a budget.
Would it make you, would it help your decision in any way if we just went to the 252 and all the, if it would go above that, we could pay that out of the commissary?
I mean, I would feel better about that, I really would. I mean, if that's something, if we can get this moving,
Yeah.
I just.
And again,
I mean,
this is just for me to say yes when they call and say, hey, we got the cars.
I mean, I'm just thinking back and, I know inflation has hit, but,
Yeah,
we used
I
to
get it.
push back about 200,000 for police vehicles a year is what we normally did. I mean, this
And that was true.
this
Yeah.
is a few years ago.
We did
So, I mean,
200,000 for
it's not a
several
big
years.
How many would you get at one time? Would you get all that you needed at one time, like the 4 or 5 or
Yes.
6? You wouldn't get like 2.
I'd
and
say
then
we
get
probably
another
could
one.
ask him because
What
typically we
I'm
get them
thinking
all.
is if we release, say, 150 right now, and then if you get those 2 and then come back and do another kind of hybrid of what we used to do every time. You're not coming in every time, just maybe twice or something like that. If-
You may have said this, but what is the lead time on getting a vehicle?
That's just it.
You don't know.
We don't know. He said there's 3 of them that got scheduled for a bid, which means they're going to be built soon, which typically that's, I think, 6 to 10 weeks of what they give and once they have a bid. And then once they're built, which only takes a day or 2, then they sit on the lot until they can find a transport company to bring them. And that is the biggest unknown right now because they can sit there for months.
I've got a smaller brain, so I typically try, I typically try to compartmentalize things a little bit, Now, if I look at it from the private sector, and I did own some equipment that we had, I'm like, this is crazy. You've raised prices 40%, 50%. I'm gonna say heck with it, and we're gonna, you're either gonna pay an interest, you're gonna pay in repair, typically, when you're looking at vehicles, one way or the other. Tractors, combines, semis, whatever industry you're in, pick your industry. In private industry, I'm like, okay, we're gonna pull back and we're gonna repair for a couple of years until inventories get built back up. And, that inflation, it moderates or whatever levels off. I don't know that that's something we can do here. If we've got roughly 30 vehicles and we're gonna rotate them every 5 years, my math shows that's 5 vehicles a year to typically stay on schedule. I don't know if a governmental agency, we have to kind of stay on schedule like that. Plus, I don't know that we want to mix employee satisfaction with pay raises with public safety tax potential with just maintaining our inventory, maintaining the fleet. However we decide to do it, that's almost a function of running a day-to-day operation. The potential wage increases or increasing taxes are whole new animals, that I don't know that we want to mix them together, would be my personal opinion. I don't know if we have enough information to say, okay, yes, we want a public safety tax or no, we don't want to pay public safety tax. I don't think we're at that point yet until we continue to do more research. So my thought was that it needs to be compartmentalized a little bit here. I don't want to muddy up all. It's like, and maybe you got us confused because there's 3 different asks that we're talking about, and I think we should probably keep them separate, in my opinion. That would be my personal thought on it. You know what I mean?
So
And I get what you're doing. You know what I mean? You're trying to, you're trying to be Tom running a business here, keeping vehicles and stuff going. You're Tom being the advocate for your employees because they're stressed out because of workload and things like that. that's more in the pay raise department, and the public safety tax was a way for you to try to potentially give a solution to getting your deputies and stuff accomplished. I think we need, as a council and commissioners, we still have to figure out what's the best way to accomplish your goals. That's probably where we come in. Whether it's, if ultimately we end up at the public safety tax, okay, it's one thing, but I don't know that we're there yet. And that's something I think that commissioners and councils, we have to decide. But the new vehicles, we have to kind of rely on you to know, what's falling apart. So I think we need to keep them separate just because that's,
And I don't think we want to blend them tonight.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We need to stick with one thing, yeah.
So, I personally, I kind of like the idea of, the 252,000 to appropriate that, if you trade a vehicle in or you use commissary funds to support these vehicles or with lights and whatever they need, then I think that's a fair way to do it. But
Sandy, can you explain to me the jail commissary fund? I see it here on the sheet that you gave us, but I don't understand what he can use out of that.
The jail commissary fund's held by the sheriff in the jail. I don't have anything to do with it. All I do is report it on the annual report.
Okay.
That doesn't run through the county books.
He's got pretty much leeway on, it has to be related to what is.
Right.
What is.
There is a state, I can get you the copy, there's a state statute that says exactly what it can and cannot be used for, or actually what it can be used for, not cannot.
I think if it's outside of certain scopes, you have to talk to the council.
It is.
Right?
Mhm.
I think that's what we looked at a couple
Yes.
of 2 years ago when
And Daryl, that's probably my fault for kind of phrasing it that way. I just have been asked lately, there's a lot of ask coming from the sheriff's department. So in my mind, that's how I posed the question, but it probably wasn't the best way.
No, I wasn't trying to contradict you at all. In my small mind, I want to keep it separate. Tom running the business with the cars, Tom being an advocate for his employees wanting to raise, Tom trying to be helpful, giving us suggestions on how to fund the third thing, which was the deputies. And I think
Doug made a good point, the way that each of those things would be funded differently. I have been asked that, and
is that right?
I guess in my mind, if I had one thing or the other, if I could get Tom more guys with used cars, that's what I was trying to say. I know it's different.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
I would agree with you on that.
My other thing was, it just seems like we're kind of capped at our amount that we're gonna be pulling in this year. If we do fund this, that's my only that was my only reason for the suggestion of maybe let's do half now and half later, or 150 now or something like that, get 3 cars or something like that. Maybe that would be a good compromise or something to alleviate some of the stress of
that's a good.
using all of that money that we would pull in for the cap.
We
Just in case there was another big purchase that we need to be. I know we
goes
just,
down or something like that.
What's
If some computer servers or something like that goes down, we don't have any money then.
right, yeah, I just would like to try to hold some back that would cover any other type of need or something like that.
150 would get you 3 cars.
250?
150, like Doug was saying, right? That's kind of what Doug was
Oh,
maybe suggesting, is maybe doing 3 or 4. Would that help or no? We need that and plan
that
for
kind of
next
back to
year.
what I said earlier, Ryan, is I don't know. I don't know where we're gonna be at when they say, hey, these cars are done. I don't know. Yeah, I think we can, there's things that we can do as far as like, okay, we get to the point of, well, I guess I don't know, because I don't know how the chargers are gonna hold up. I don't know. Typically what has happened in the past, I don't know what they typically, but the insurance companies have replaced our vehicles that got totaled. So we're good there, but we had one that was totaled about 2 years ago, and we had to wait about 8 months to get it.
Usually do you buy the cars or get the cars 1 at a time, 2 at a time, or?
Typically, well, we order them all, and just for an example, so we said we wanted 6. 3 of them are gonna be done before the other 3. So my guess is, because he said there's 3 VIN numbers. So he could call tomorrow and say, hey, the other VINs are now ready and they're gonna start them. But typically, when they call and say they're done, we'll go get them all.
So it's not
That's
like,
typical how
it's
it
not
works.
like you order one or you're in need of one, then you go buy it, then you go
No.
later on, a couple months later, you just
That
Put it
used to
in
be the
order.
way it was.
put an order for 6.
Yes.
And now you put an order for 6, you get a better deal on,
I don't necessarily think you get a better deal,
you
you just
just get pushed
just
up.
guaranteed your cars.
Guaranteed your cars.
Yeah.
Super.
Because we'll have to make a decision when he calls and says, just for an example, we got 6. If he calls and says, we got 3 of them done, and if I don't take those 3 then, if I say I only want 2, that one, he's gonna sell that other one to some other agency. And then when the next 3 are done, if I only say, well, I only need 1 right now, then other 2 are gonna be sold. Does that make sense?
And you pay for when you get them, right? You
Correct.
pay for when you order,
Yeah.
so you could just say we need 2 now or whatever,
Mhm.
just like pay for the 2, so.
So you have to make a decision when he calls and says they're done, and at that point, that's when you look and say, okay, this is what needs to be traded, or this is what we can make last another year. And this is what's been costing us a lot of money, so we're gonna put that one to the front of the list to get rid of. So there's,
And when he calls and says they're ready, you still have to wait for that transport to.
No,
pick them up,
he'll
or
call them when they
they're
arrive.
ready to go.
and they get them prepped,
Okay.
just like a personal vehicle. He'll call, they'll get them prepped, and then they're ready to go tomorrow, you pick them up.
Because right now, they let you know there's 3 bins.
Yeah.
So you don't have a 2 coming
No, and he doesn't even,
in.
he's the one that told me about how the process works. He was just giving an update. Because we're ready, almost in March, and so it was just a courtesy call.
Yeah.
Which I thought it was kind of ironic to call today on that kind of stuff. A little bit more info.
I mean, my feeling still is that, you know, to have these, newer vehicles that, you know, the longer we run these vehicles, the older ones, the more service we're gonna have, the more maintenance and upkeep we're gonna have on them. I think it's a fair trade-off if you're gonna, you mentioned, Sheriff mentioned that he would buy a vehicle, you know, for one person, which we'd have to, you know, possibly pay for if we wouldn't buy it out of the commissary.
Mhm.
And then pay for the $50,000 additional out of commissary for the, you know, to put the gear on, or whatever you wanna call it, the lights and the probably the rest of it. So I still feel maybe we ought to, I mean, this isn't a lot above, what we have done in the past, the 200,000. The other thing, I just think if we're kind of buying an extra vehicle, I feel in some ways that could help us next year. You know, that we would maybe need 6 vehicles, we could need maybe 5 or 4 or something like that. Because if you look at the rotation,
Right.
I think years past, we discussed this just like you know, highway department, you know, you kind of put them on a rotation. And that's a good way, I think, to look at it. So.
You have to do somewhat of a rotation, but you gotta look at, obviously,
How
I'm sure Steve knows that too.
they don't all hold up.
They don't all hold up the same.
Right, the same.
And I'm assuming also with repairs, it's probably like buying a vehicle, you can't always get the parts, you're probably waiting on parts to come in too.
Ironically, brakes are, what? Just-
Yeah.
Slow and stop.
What is does that come fund, what do we end with? Like, I mean, we'll be down to 124
No, wait a minute, we've got
after the ambulance in these cars?
we built a you know, more of a savings. You know, she's saying 800 and some thousand a year.
That's what we take in.
Yeah.
But right here, if we give out
We've
350.
got a little bit of balance. That's why I say if we
Okay.
pay for it this year, we may not spend it next year.
Okay.
You know,
No, and we're,
I was thinking,
and,
The Cume Fund is a tax rate fund.
came from.
Yeah.
and
you know, there's like.
that 350, if you go by what was purchased last year,
That's what we-
318, if you add 5%, it doesn't come up to 350, it comes up something a little less than that.
So, Alex,
Still, if you can't.
you're saying you're getting some pushback, and people want you to hold up and utilize the used stuff a little more, or what do you?
No, the vehicles I didn't particularly, just
you know, stuff that was, about the new officers and then the pay raise at the same time. Now, like Doug pointed out, you know, this is a different funding source, but people don't see it that way, and they wanna know where all the money's going, and, some people say, do you got a spreadsheet and show what it costs to run a car for a mile? Not particularly with Tom, but I'm just saying in general at the county. I said, some of these guys are really ridiculous on record. So like the ambulance guy had everything here, and I don't know, you know, there's the company I work for, we kind of got a sheet that shows where it's economically feasible to trade out vehicles around 250,000 miles. Now, obviously, they're going to be less than that for these patrol cruisers, but people do ask and stuff like that. But I haven't had a particular question on this. It just seems like a lot to the general public when
Yeah, no, I
when
agree.
you're getting 6 cars and a potential pay raise and potential officers. That's all I'm saying. And it wasn't muddy how I presented it, so I'm sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I'm trying to learn here. I'm not trying, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
But I think Steve could tell you some equipment you wish you still had from certain years or vintages, because some of this stuff,
Absolutely.
Stellantis owns Chrysler now. Mixed reviews, especially with my new truck. I mean, there's some things I don't like, so how long do they last? I can't really say. But he's got to know, like Ryan said, he knows better than anybody, but
Are there state recs on that, like, where you go over center on, useful life of vehicles? Like what Alex is saying,
I
is there a standard? I was curious if there maybe was a standard.
I do not know.
Okay. That's a good point.
Ryan, to answer your question, if you go by what last year I had 5% for the ambulance, and you go by what these possibly cost without any cushion, or adding cushion in there, it's about $585 or so. So we're budgeting for 250 and 300, 350, so
252.
600, 650 or something like that. So, but we're only going to probably use 580, 590, something like that. So we save a little bit there.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but I mean, those are
Would it
extra.
matter, or would it help if you did approve this, that once I did determine, just come in here and say, I mean, or tell Sandy that we're done buying and that money could be put back in, then I guess or not?
We'd have to do a reduction on the budget then. Because once it's appropriated, the state assumes you're gonna use it all. So if you're not gonna use it, then you need to do a reduction, which we've really not done.
And you would rather not do that?
We could do it, it's just,
Just to help you out, know where you're at then, if we,
That's also kind of why I just like to let's do a little bit then, so we don't have to do that extra step. But I guess it would add another you coming back and asking for more. Wouldn't really save any effort or anything like that.
So Doug, what are you thinking there then? I mean, I think we have to make a decision here, one way or the other here tonight.
I think he needs my personal opinion is he needs flexibility to at least have a minimum of 3,
Yeah.
you know. So however we want to fund that accordingly, I don't know where that dollar amount is between the commissary and what is the other one we're using, QCAP, you know. So,
I think you have to do the 3 if there's 3 bids that are available, because that would be silly to do
committed to
that.
3 bids
Yeah.
already.
we need to get that ball, I believe. But what's that dollar amount that we think, that we're thinking that they would need to be for that plus
Would be
QCAP plus
60,000,
commissary?
60,000 each, right? So is that right? I mean, outfitted, 60,000 each.
Well, he's going to fit it through the commissary fund, right? So that wouldn't include the money that we would appropriate here.
So 130,000.
If we did the
For
3, it would
just
just
the
be
3?
the 3 times.
sounds like I
I
should have
don't
came in
think, I
before
think if
Ryan.
we do the 4, then that would.
What's
I
that?
said, it sounds like I should have came in before Ryan did with the ambulance.
Yeah, exactly.
he doesn't give his till 2025, so.
I guess my only thought is, you know, if we've done this to keep them in rotation, when you look at, 25 vehicles or whatever, you look at it, if you want to replace them every 4 years or 5 years.
But yeah, then we're almost to a 6 again.
Well, see, that's what I'm getting at here, we just,
Either we do it this year, we do it next year.
well, that's what I'm thinking here. If he's got them, they're not gonna get any cheaper.
I agree
for
with
that.
I
So, I mean, if we got it, I don't know. You look at this a lot of different ways, but if we want to hold the sheriff to 3 vehicles a year, then I think that we have to cut it back. If not,
I don't think we can hold it to 3 a year for an annualized basis.
so.
I wasn't suggesting hold it to 3 a year, I was just saying, hold off on releasing the rest of it.
And if you get some come back in and get the others.
Yeah, no, I wasn't suggesting that at all, I was just worried about spending all of it so early in the year and not knowing.
You probably meant when he gets the next 3, then to come back and.
Correct.
What if that's tomorrow?
Well, we don't meet tomorrow.
I know, that's just what I'm trying
And
to.
that's why we were discussing it, and that's why I'm stuck here. because
Right.
I
Then
just
I
don't
think he
know.
does have to go to the commissioners to get approval to purchase them.
He can't purchase, he couldn't purchase but 3 of them.
The commissioners haven't given him any permission
They
to
haven't
do
given
any of
any,
them
but-
right now, so right now.
Typically, I think it's a courtesy that I do with the commissioners. State law does not require that to happen, but I usually do that as a courtesy. They've asked me to do that.
Are we thinking 200 plus the commissary is adequate or not? Or what are your thoughts, Tom?
I'll leave it to you guys.
We were at 250, right?
I think the 252, and then you could
252,
take all
and
the
then
upkeep, and then you could, if he doesn't use them, it would still go back in if we, I mean, that's, if he's willing to use the commissary funds, 50,000 roughly.
And then as soon as we're done,
done.
I will go to Sandy and at least say that we're done. You can, if you want to do the reduction, or if you think you're gonna have it till the end of the year, then that's
Because I
fine.
mean,
It'll be your court then.
They don't seem bad.
They seem like good prices for vehicles.
Yeah.
May see a
So-
little next year.
Unless there's a lot of other discussion,
I'm fine.
Do you need a motion?
no, we're just.
Consensus, because it has not been advertised, so you will
And
bring
we
this
still
back.
vote on it. Let's, so he can go to the commissioners, and I think we ought to get 252,000 out of that Cume cap.
252 or
250.
250?
It was
Well,
252.
Well, 250, if that's.
250 is fine.
That's fine.
I heard 2 different numbers, and I want to make sure I get the right number.
Let's just make it-
We got an option.
I just didn't want to advertise 250 and you want 252.
Well,
The quote that he
Keeps
said
it
was
clean.
252, 125, that's what that number was.
If we can round it to 250.
250 round it down.
250, then he could probably.
Let's have a show of hands, who's in favor of that? Okay, so happy birthday, Tom.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Happy birthday.
Thanks.
Never run.
Thanks for having
Work on his birthday.
I know.
We're trying to figure it out. Thank you. Tom.
Stop.
You get it figured out, you let me know.
Okay. All right, so let's go on to Steve.
That was somehow way late.
You don't need a new truck.
Yeah, it's, that's a tough job. I'm here for, I guess, 3 different things. I think Brent was on here for distressed road, so I'll take care of that as well. But yeah, we'll get into the other 2 items here first. The equipment rotation assistance for the $175,000 for the purchase of a mechanic service truck. I think we have advertised for that and
We did. We advertised $175,000 from the Hume Cap Fund for the highway vehicle.
Okay, so we discussed that last meeting, so any other discussion before we go? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve that $175,000 for out of our Cume cap for the new service truck chassis and truck body.
I'll give the motion.
Second.
So Ryan made a motion and Doug seconded, so any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. That was a lot simpler than.
I got this by June.
Poor Tom.
Now,
That would be how.
Yeah.
Need
Oh,
that.
got $3.
Old Road 64 instead of 50 South.
This wind is crazy.
Okay.
we'll get to it. Uh-huh.
Now, that's service right there.
Sorry about that.
That's good.
We still have, people out working some trees and limbs and stuff, so it's been an afternoon. Okay, so thanks for your help on that truck. Also wanted to give an update on, the water damage at the highway garage. We had some quotes come in. Schraring Construction was awarded the reconstruction project as they had the best bid. Their quote of $50,494 consisted of materials for the walls and the ceilings for the office and the break room areas, labor for that work, and labor for installing the office flooring, most of which is going to be covered by the insurance. Okay. Let's see here. We've also got a quote of $12,700 from Gas or Electric to change out switch and plug boxes to the finished wall. A lot of the existing ones were mortared into the concrete block. The interior structure is mostly concrete block, and then this thing was framed out with like furrowing strips and some paneling. And to put the drywall there, these boxes won't go out to the drywall, so they have to be removed. Then when we were looking at that, a lot of the wiring is substandard. It needs to be brought up to code. So a lot of this, we're still working with insurance on that, but the way it sounds, a lot of that is not likely to be covered. So that's probably going to get applied to the rainy day money that we talked about. So we have a quote from Corporate Warehouse in the amount of $4,123.35 for flooring material in the office. And then another quote from Jasper Equipment for flooring in the break room. We have two different floors there. Both expenditures will be covered by the insurance. We've also met our deductible with labor and materials exceeding $13,000 for demolition of the bad, the destroyed properties. We had done some mold treatment and also applied some vapor barrier work around the outside walls. So pretty much had a clean building when they come in, and that's hopefully Thursday or Friday. Should get started. So, but
Steve, did the insurance company go along with what your thinking was?
Mhm.
So everything was okay there.
yeah, I think they're still talking about the electrical portion yet. The adjuster was in the other day, and we went through everything and laid it all out, and he didn't seem to have any serious questions on it either. So it's pretty much all cut and dry. The damaged portion is the damaged portion. They're gonna stand by that. So
So are you saying that he won't pay anything on the electrical? Is that what you're saying?
I'm still waiting for confirmation on the electrical.
So we, I think on the rainy day fund, we had appropriated $30,000. I mean, is that gonna be sufficient to do the work?
I'm thinking so. Just off the top of my head, what I'm putting together, I'm probably in the $25,000 range right now. I know we've got a couple of desks that were damaged. That's also going to be covered by the insurance. We might have another couple desks with that. I don't know yet. So I hate to say something without knowing for sure ahead. So, but right now I'm kind of in the $25,000 range for folks.
Okay. Answers my questions.
Steve, you have another additional appropriation for Malcom,
Oh, that's right. 7,000?
9.
Nine. Okay. Yeah, we have hired Malcom to do some work for us to recuperate some tax that is collected when we usually pay for our fuel. And it's been working out pretty well. They get paid 50% of what we receive with a limit of $1,500 per quarter. And we've been getting some pretty good receipts out of that. And the laws kind of change. It's kind of hard for us to kind of stay up on that and be sure that we're right. Sometimes our numbers, but Ann's been trying to do it, but our numbers just don't always jive. So, you know, just to be sure we're doing it right, I think it's worth the amount of money to go ahead and just have them perform.
Amy and I both use Malcon for services and we can
I would
agree
be
there.
lost without them. They get us thousands of dollars from the clerk's office.
It's well worth what we pay for them.
So we're asking for a $9,000
From the highway fund,
from highway.
So what is this, Malcolm?
Malcon.
Okay.
Malinowski Consulting.
Good job.
But we all use Daniel, and I mean, he's,
Well, I've been hearing this Malcon from other department heads, so I'm like trying to figure out exactly what it is. So in other words, we'll give them a percentage up to a certain point to recover their expenses, and then after that, then we get 100%.
After the 15, if we receive a refund of more than $1,500, then we would get 100% of that. But up to $1,500 in a quarter, we'll get 50%, they'll get 50%.
What is a typical quarter term?
It's been around $1,000 to $1,200.
I honestly don't know what
It
I'm
just
seeing.
kinda-
Would you
just
get the
kinda-
money if you didn't use them? Would you get any of that money if
No.
you didn't use them? I think that's the.
Yeah, I mean,
benefit.
we're
Like,
getting
we're
something.
getting
but
money we wouldn't have gotten otherwise,
Yeah.
we're just,
Because they have the expertise to jump through a bunch of hoops that
and they
we
know
don't
how to
have.
file the paperwork.
Yeah, and they deal with the law, so I mean, it's, Ann's got enough on her plate.
I think the highway started this maybe 19 maybe.
Mhm.
So this is something,
Instead of reinventing the wheel, we're
and we
using-
really, Ann thought maybe they could do it, but
It's
It's
just.
just a lot.
I'm like,
Okay, that's what we're having discussion.
sometimes you let them do what they know how to do.
Mhm.
Oh, I get that.
You have any questions on that?
Is that wiring, aluminum wiring that you're replacing?
Aluminum?
Yeah.
I don't believe so.
I was gonna say, it might be the blessing in disguise this all happened if it was aluminum.
That's what a few of them have been saying, especially the electrician. Because,
I didn't know what that building's age when that one been put in.
yeah, I think there's quite a few ground wires that don't exist in some of the plugs, and I think they were relying on the Romex, I guess, to supply some of the ground and,
The neutral.
yeah, or the neutral, yeah. I'm not an electrician, but I think it's well beyond code. So, I think you're right. I think it is a blessing in disguise. So,
The only question else is, when they pull that wire through a block wall, there's no conduit, so do they have to be more careful so they don't nick up the wiring when they do that, or is there any added cost from going through that block wall, or how does that work?
there won't be. I am sure they're going to be pulling everything out, but we're going to run new stuff in, at least over the top of the ceilings. And this way, instead of putting the furrow strip there, which is about 3/4 of an inch wide to an inch wide, and then your drywall, we're actually going to put a 2x4 stud, which allows us room for the box to fit up where the drywall is going to be, and we can run our conduit in there. So it'll work out a lot quicker, a lot better. Otherwise, we would have to run through the walls. That would be tough to do. And while they're in there, we have Matrix in there with a bunch of stuff, advanced radio with our 2-ways. We took all this stuff down, and there's wires everywhere. And it's a mess. It's a mess.
And the stud there, it really helps the working space, that they can add it and move it where they want to and do a lot of other things, so make it more, than it was originally.
Nice modern office and workroom and stuff.
Yeah, 1966 is when the building was built. So.
So let's get back to the 9,000, because we don't have to vote on the 30,000,
That's already been done.
That's
He was
been
just
done.
providing an update.
so the 9,000, anybody on that Malcolm, anybody have any other questions on that 9,000? I'll entertain a motion to maybe approve that 9,000 for additional appropriations. Okay, so Meredith made a motion, and I have a second.
I'll second.
Sonia seconded, so any other discussion? Otherwise, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed?
Okay, the last thing is, submission for the, distress road fund. Just a brief little history on what the distress road fund is. It is a $1 million interest-free loan from the state that certain counties in southwestern Indiana are eligible for if they apply. And they would get $1 million, they would pave certain roads, and after a 10-year period, pay that $1 million back without interest, okay? So I believe we had set up a long time ago, county council pays $100,000 a year towards that fund. It accumulates interest, and by the 10th year, we take the accumulated interest to help pay that off and make that last payment somewhat less. So this year, that loan will be paid off in July. So our hope was that we were talking with NDOT to see if we could do an early pay down and apply for the project and try to do the paving in 2023, but it doesn't look like, I think we've got some of our money tied up in CDs, so it doesn't make sense to cash in that CD early. The penalty wouldn't be worth the trouble. So we're going to do this in its own time frame. Probably be looking at July. We'll be coming back and making that payment to the state and sending everything in. But what we need right now is I've got a cover letter. It's a middle cover letter that goes to NDOT. It has to be signed by the council president.
You know, I did read through this whole thing. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I read through it as well.
Okay, good.
That's a lot of reading.
I wasn't sure how much.
I went through it.
Happy to answer any questions.
This is the third time
Yes.
we've received this.
Makes sense to me.
It's a win-win.
Do you have any count on how much money over those 3 times we've saved by the interest free?
Oh, boy, I haven't even put that
The thing is
together.
we do take the 100,000 every year and we put it in another fund and that does accrue interest. And we get to keep that interest.
Mhm.
And then usually your 10th year, you don't have to pay as much in for that last payment, or you can take that money and start your next repayment if they give you the next loan.
Yeah, it's worked out well. It has, so.
Not that was well, I was wondering how much each 10 years
Yes,
have we
there's another one.
gotten out of the interest?
Which is the repayment.
Oh, I'd have
Basically,
to,
how much
it
we-
depends, I mean, we'd have to look.
Right, I didn't know if they kept track of that or not.
We have it. But she does a report every year to the state saying where this money's at and how much we have, so they know that we're
So we're
building the
paying
pot to get to back to the million.
And does that.
100,000.
And we have one there too.
Yeah, but for-
It needs to be separated out.
That'd just be kind of cool to see how much,
I need to-
because we've done it 3 years.
I'll run the business.
How much
We've done it 30 years.
Well, 30, three times, 3 cycles, $3 million worth of how much interest we've saved, but without $3 million, it's what it
How
had
much
to
we,
pay.
how much we
How
earned.
much, how much you earned, yeah,
There's an
yeah.
affidavit basically
Yeah, we
stating
have
that we don't have any of our
I can look
roads.
that up.
We don't have any loans on our roads
It's
or
like
bonds
a
on
should
our roads.
ask you about that, you know, maybe that's something to look at.
And it's used for distressed roads.
Mhm.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's definitely useful and, needed anyway.
That's right, yeah, we do have more stuff.
Except for her.
Maybe I signed it. You've seen it.
Sandy, I need a, I guess a note over here.
That's a good one.
For all of them, or
I'm
just
not
that one?
sure, but I can test it.
Okay.
Yeah, he wants a notary, I'm not a notary.
Okay. Okay,
Normally, I just have an attestation.
okay.
You are?
It's on you. I don't, but I can do
Okay.
it a little bit.
Kind of figured one person in the room would be in the
Well,
What's that?
um,
She's seen this on, she can do it here.
Yeah.
If she did.
okay. Oh, okay.
I can do
And
it.
normally they just want an attestation, so it's.
I can do it. It's weird, it's stamp it though.
Okay.
Yeah, that's,
Is that okay? Or I can drop it off.
We're always.
yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Is that a cover letter saying you're paying it back, or is that one for the?
That one is the affidavit stating that there are no loans or bonds on our roads. Yeah, don't have any current outstanding loan,
3 days.
that proceeds, which have been expended on the county, so, yeah, it's for road bonds.
They gave it as dated today.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so all I have to do is stamp it then drop it off.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds good. And,
Thank you, Steve.
thank you. And, real quick, just, for your information, the plan submittal, of the road projects that we're gonna be doing under this distressed road for this time around is gonna be, Meridian Road from State Road 162 south to County Road 130 west. Then County Road 130 west from 225 south down to 400 south. Then we're doing 225 south from 130 west over to Witch Road. And then we're doing Witch Road basically from 231 back to end of the pavement, which would be probably close to where WITZ is. And then 400 south from 130 west to the city limits. So that with the wedge and level and everything is probably gonna exceed the million, so. Gives you an idea of how far $1 million will go. Not like it used to. So, that's all
Just
I've
always
got.
amazes me how much it costs to repave and certain types of roads and just how little you get, it seems like, with.
Yeah.
But how much is needed. It's.
Yeah.
The
And
cost seems to be.
that's why we're focusing so much on preservation, trying to spend money on our good roads and keep our good roads good. And that way we can, just extend the life of these things, so.
Got some positive feedback on that chip and seal patching you've been doing, so, in the southern part of the county, people said you did a good job, so.
Thank you. Yeah, that's, on a lot of our roads, in that case as well, there's just not a lot of base underneath. And, get some freeze and thaw, those things get soft, they start pumping. So that's been our program for as long as I've been here. We'll go ahead and dig out those bad areas, or we'll take our grader and our Starfire, rip those up and utilize the pavement that's there, but then we'll add 2s and 53s and cover with 73s. So now there's something substantial underneath it. Then we'll chip and seal it. And we've had a lot of success with that. We haven't had to go back in a lot of the areas that we've done, so.
It helps,
I don't think
it helps the patrol cars last longer than rock roads too.
There you go. We're all in the same boat, aren't we? So, anybody else? Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. Sorry for the wait there.
That's okay.
So before we move on, Amy, you have something that you wanna, you're not on the agenda, you're just
No,
here
I'm
to-
not on the agenda. I feel like you're gonna talk about something I might wanna interject an opinion about.
Okay, well, that's great. So the next thing on the agenda here, I think, is the Huntingburg Economic Development appointment of John Mundy. I think
The council had been appointing him on an annual basis. And I think it was Phil Schneider contacted us and said, it's really, the first year was an annual. After that, it should have been a 4-year term. So he wanted us to correct and get this back on a 4-year cycle. So we had him from February 2022 to January 31st of 2023, but that is incorrect. So
So it would be 2026.
it'll be February 1 of 2022 through January 31, 2026. So we're just correcting.
Are we amending the
We're just revising.
revising?
So why, how did that get on, like, I looked up, it was on February 1st, so what was just odd?
I can't answer that.
So it's going back to January 1st?
No, it's going to be February 1.
Oh, it's still gonna be February, okay,
Through January 31.
okay, no problem. I just looked at, that's what I thought too.
Could we change it to January 1?
I
Just to keep continuity with everything else. I mean, it seems like.
There's a few of them, they're odd ducks like this, and we just kind of have to remember them. That's part of the problem.
So do we have to sign that?
But I didn't know if you wanted to make motions to
Yeah,
do that, and then we'll re-sign it and send it to them.
okay. So is any other questions on that? I mean, we already have him appointed, it's just
Yes.
a matter of,
Just making a motion to amend
Amend
the date,
The term
the
limit.
term limit. I'll make that motion.
Ryan and Alex, 8 seconds, so any other discussion on that? Otherwise, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. So the next thing here is this local assistance tribal consistency fund. And I'm gonna let you explain where it came from or not.
The Chad applied for this, I think. It's similar to the ARPA money, where it is supposed to be used for any county purpose other than lobbying. You can't do that. You can't use it for directly or indirectly paying personal services, advertising, or doing anything with a member of Congress, lobbying. But you can use it for any county purpose. We've gotten $50,000 in 2022. We're gonna get another $50,000 this year for a total of $100,000. We do have to report this like we do our ARPA funds. So right now, we only have the 50, but I'm not sure when the next 50's coming.
We talked about this a little bit, I think the commissioners did. What I'd like to do is we have a lot of maintenance items in the courthouse and in the annex here. And I would like to, ask for permission maybe to use that for courthouse and annex maintenance and upkeep. And the reason being is right now, I think, there's in the server room, in the auditor's room, off the auditor's room there, there's an air conditioning unit that keeps the servers cool, and that thing's bad, and I think the commissioners approved replacing that unit for $4,575. And then at the commissioners meeting on Tuesday, the courthouse, they had landscaping bids, and they started the award to redo the landscaping with rock around the courthouse in lieu of mulch, and decorated around the new ADA ramp and that kind of thing. And that the low bid on that was Brushwood, and it was $7,010.04. So those two I was hoping that we could pay out of this fund, to use it up, before the government takes it back from us or something. The other thing is,
I believe it has to be used before 2026, like the ARPA money.
The other thing is, the two courtrooms where the attorneys sit, this is all original carpet from when it was remodeled in '96. So in the courtrooms, where the attorneys sit, they move back and forth, and it's stretched carpet, and it's got it down to the threads, and they had to put a, pad down, plastic, desk pad, and they don't like it because the prisoner, or whoever, whoever slides off, when they put him down, he slides off the thing.
Yeah, the inmate tries to sit in a chair like this, and it's slick plastic, also the chair goes, and then he's on the ground.
Because they're shackled and they can't hold their chair.
Can't do it. I saw that myself in there as well.
So, anyway, we're getting quotes on that, to see what, put squares in there, and then on the elevated part where the jury sits is the, put the roll goods to match. So if that would happen again, we could possibly just change out squares,
That needs to happen.
So I don't know we don't know what the cost of that is. The other thing is, I asked the commissioners if we could replace the chairs on this portion here, for 7 chairs.
Up on the dais.
So, and then the meeting room, the conference room downstairs is terrible too. We got rid of some of them, but they're all odd chairs, and so there's 10 of them there. And then the attorneys are all, the attorney chairs are all messed up too on the back. It's, fingerprints, and it's just, the backs of them are terrible. So they were asking if we could get them new chairs there. So I was getting a quote from Business Environments, Kimball Furniture, and they give us, they said to give us the best discount we can get from government, and that we got the volume that we were doing at the Justice Center out there. So we were going to try to incorporate that into this order. So,
But pay it out of this fund.
but pay it out of this fund, this particular part of it.
The other, I was gonna ask you, if you don't use it out of this fund, Scott's gonna need money for this landscaping and this air conditioning unit. So it's either this or use it out of county general for Scott's maintenance. So this might save us some county general money by using this fund.
Yes.
So I didn't know if anybody had any comments on that, or, if we could proceed with that, because I think they're gonna have to pay, advertise for the.
How much would be left in this fund then if we do that?
Well, we don't know that, but it can be used for,
And then, and that's
I'd like
where,
to dip into the fund as well. You've done such a wonderful job of making the auditor and the treasurer's office secure. I would like to make the clerk's office a little more secure by adding a door to our back and some keyless entry to the new back door, and the one as you come into the courthouse, that doorway that goes into the clerk's office. Keyless entries would be fantastic, and securing that back door from the public. So I would like.
and I would say while
to
we're
ask-
doing that, we would do the recorder as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah,
Okay, and then while we've got this can of worms open, because I agree with both of those, as this finishes up over there, we have metal detectors that are not being used that really need to be used. And I don't know if that ties into this all at the same time as we're making some of these upgrades.
That's a talk with the sheriff. Tom and Mike work for sheriff.
we have that equipment, we just had I think the prior conversation had been that naming it, is that correct?
That was
And
the
then
issue.
the whole ramp issue and having 2 entrances had tied to that conversation. I was never in those conversations before, but I feel like that's what's in it.
There is a safety committee, the judge,
That's gonna be reactivated as soon as these projects are done.
well, the
is my
judge,
understanding.
the judge chairs that, so we just meet like maybe once a year or something.
Yeah, I would maybe once a year. That'd be
He said as soon as this is over with, he's gonna reactivate that committee to try to address this situation. So I know the sheriff takes care of the funding to man that facility, and I don't know that it'll be a lot of extra manning, but I'm just saying with this fund possibly be used for the installation tied with the, with
I
Amy's
don't
office and
think
the
a
treasurer.
door and the locks and the carpet, all this stuff will use the whole 100,000. I mean, we won't come near that, I don't think.
So Amy, did you gotta put a doorway in or just replace the door?
No, there's a swinging door in the back of our office that separates the clerk's office from the public terminal room, where the public terminals are. And since we went paperless pre-COVID, and then with COVID, there's less foot traffic, but we have had instances where we go close our back door to the hallway because there's a safety concern.
This is a no-brainer.
So I feel like a door, more of a permanent door instead of the swinging door would be more appropriate. And a keyless entry, because we will walk through that door many times a day to swipe our badge to get in and out, I think would be most common sense. A lot of times we'll use our other door to go put postage on mail or run to the auditor's office or something, and we leave our other door cracked because I don't carry my key with me. So I think keyless entry is the way to go.
Well, and I
To
told
get in
Andy,
and
it
out of the
also makes your employees wear their badge, because this is your key.
This is
Many
a
times
no-brainer.
I feel like I don't know who the people are, and like we have some community corrections people upstairs, like I'm not familiar with who they are. Like a badge is very helpful. I will stop somebody in the hallway that wants to go in the back door, or can you swipe me in, or like, who are you? Like, I have no problem asking somebody who they are, but my staff won't do that. Like, that's a,
Well, I
They
can say
kinda
from
feel
the
like they
2
don't.
weeks we've been shutting our door now, it has made a difference.
Yeah.
Of who comes in our door, in our office.
Yeah.
Now we have to let you in.
In the same way over Craig's, the treasurer account, right? Same open setup.
Well,
He doesn't have
his
keyless
door
yet.
is not in, his keyless
not
entry has
installed.
not been installed yet, it's coming.
it's
Oh, it is,
coming,
okay.
but it's not, yeah. But I think from a safety standpoint is why I plan on asking the commissioners, and if you don't have the money to do it, I will find the money to do it.
Well,
But I feel like it's appropriate that you, if
before
we have this
Yeah,
fund.
before they got these installed, we were carrying our key around, and I'm gonna tell you what, you go in and out multiple times a day. This is just so much easier.
So is this specific to yours would be specific to your office? You can't. get
There's
into
only
the-
8 people keyed into our office, Marky's one of them.
Okay.
And then your
So I couldn't
custodians,
use my badge to
Right.
get into their office.
That answers
your
my-
custodians
Programs.
and your safety security officers, they do have the ability to get in.
So Mike, I think you're the only one that
No.
has a code.
Well, I can get in this front door.
Yeah, we can.
Well, yeah, I don't even have.
You can't, on your badge, you can't go into the courthouse, the main door?
No, I'm not outside.
I can just get in the annex, I think.
I can't go anywhere.
Yeah, I haven't.
We're open 8 to 4, Monday through Friday.
Well, we discussed, people asked us, can we have a key into your office? And I was like, I think that defeats the purpose.
I 100%
Yeah,
agree.
that's
I
probably
do not
true.
want,
I
I don't
agree.
like the fact that the entire sheriff's department has access to my office. They do not need access to my office. I have confidential court documents in there that they don't need to have if we have an emergency, there's plenty of people in the building that's gonna get access. But I mean, it should be very limited who has access to what office.
So it sounds like you've been thinking about this for a while, you got a rough estimate on that.
I don't have a quote, because I was talking to Scott about it and how to go about it, and he said I needed to get permission from the commissioners first and then get a quote, then come to the council. I talked to Sandy today and she brought up that you guys were gonna talk about this fund, so I said, I'm coming to the meeting.
Because I told her,
Be a part
I
of
was
the
gonna bring it up
conversation.
if not.
Yeah, I think
I think
You know,
with the
and I
A1
wasn't-
auditors and all that
carpet
stuff.
wasn't the top of my list, but after we talked today and I listened to what you have to say, if you walk through my office, there's a path by the front window and by our desks. Like, not all the carpet needs to be replaced, but I would ask for carpet to be replaced in my office as well.
Well, let's start,
You know,
let's
when we-
start with one thing at a time.
But I have to
I'm okay
say,
with
let's
giving
get
a door and some
security
keyless
done.
entries.
when we took up ours, you wouldn't believe how nasty it was. You don't think, oh, it's not that bad, but you took it up and it was like, oh my gosh.
I mean, you can pick up the squares in our office, they're not glued down anymore, and it works.
And maybe
but-
they need to replace some of the squares. I
Yeah,
don't
some
know.
of the squares. Anyway, a door and keyless entry would be my priority.
Okay, well, let's do that. You take it to the commissioners. I
Okay.
honestly think this fund is something we ought to use.
Absolutely. Even before they brought this up, I was thinking, with the rest of it, the final security, once that's completed with the metal detectors and things.
I mean, if there's money left, we can do it.
Absolutely,
Otherwise, we'll have
yeah.
to find ways of funding. it.
Absolutely. Okay.
But that's a year,
I would think
it's a year off.
I could at least
Yes.
advertise the
Yes.
50,000 that we have now.
Yep.
If I find out we're gonna get the other 50, we can
So
advertise
we
that.
don't know yet on that.
I don't know when it's coming.
Gotcha.
They haven't given us a release on claiming it. It's coming, I just don't know when.
Okay.
We got the last one in October, so.
And we haven't spent any of that
Mhm.
yet.
You know, I think it's probably good. I think the commissioners asked me to see if there's something we can do to get it moving. Otherwise, it's, we'll lose it or,
Right.
But
I mean, we've
This
talked
is
about
all-
these chairs for I don't know how long. The downstairs Annex conference room is a graveyard of broken chairs.
But these things here would probably stay. I mean,
These brown
these
ones.
brown ones would stay. And then I think somebody else has spoken for maybe one or two of these, so, these are these small ones.
Mark needs a pad out there for those. Those get awful hard too.
Too good for
They still
So anyway,
There's a
Thanks
few
for letting me
ones
use
downstairs.
this
Print them out.
conversation.
you can stick around for the rest of the meeting too.
Okay.
Especially when they say out there are problems and it really is.
The, okay, so I guess what would we have to do this? Make a,
I'm just gonna consensus to advertise.
so does anybody, any more discussion on it or?
Was there anything that didn't make the list that you guys talked about? Like,
Honestly, these are just the things that are coming up. There's gonna be money to do other things, but that's the things that Scott had hit me and he brought, so.
seemed good, I just didn't know if there was ones that you thought, man, we wouldn't use.
Well, we thought we could give it to.
I brought up to the recorder that I was talking about a door, and she said she would be curious what the quote would be, so I don't know her interest in a door to the back. Hers is kind of the same setup, she has an open area for public access, and then she doesn't even have swinging doors, just open.
She
into
took her swinging door down.
office. Sorry,
She took her swinging door down.
she keeps her door to the hallway shut with a sign on it that says if you want to use the public access to come to the front window.
Okay.
So just that might be part of,
We can
the
talk to
list.
her, I think it'd probably be best to do it all at one time.
Well, and I know that the judge even talked about having maybe some kind of security when you go up to the waiting room for the courtroom, the double doors, having something there to stop them from coming back to the judge's offices.
Okay.
He did.
I would like to add to that comment. I know he has asked for that door to be locked, so public cannot come past that door. I respectfully ask that you have some kind of intercom system. We send people upstairs with court paperwork that they have to take to the court office. If there's a security issue, that's fine, let's figure out the solution, but we will continue to send people upstairs that have to file paperwork with the court. People file the beginning part of their cases at the clerk's office, and every subsequent filing has to go to the court office. So every pro se filer, meaning somebody that doesn't have an attorney, they're bringing their paperwork to the court. Could be divorce paperwork, it could be paternity paperwork and child support issues, but we send people upstairs every day to take paperwork to the court office, and we will continue to do so. So we cannot just lock those doors. He would very strongly disagree with my comments, but we will continue to send people upstairs. They have to file that paperwork
So
upstairs.
they access those doors and then they have to either go into the circuit clerks or the superior clerks is where they would end
Yeah,
up?
they go to the end of the hall, and then there's the two offices,
Yes.
and they,
Which if they have some kind of
Business
buzzer system or intercom system or
Something.
something to say why
Could a
they could.
fob entry be used there?
could have what?
A fob, key fob entry, like.
The public wouldn't have a key fob though.
Just have to be buzzed in.
So I'm not saying that the solution is to not lock the door, but please extend the conversation to find a better solution for making him happy too. I do think there's a security issue, and that's why he brings it up.
Makes sense. Okay, so if there's no other discussion out, consensus or show of hands, who's in support of that? Using that money, so it looks like it's everybody.
Okay.
Okay, so we want to move on to additional appropriations then?
In the health fund, we've advertised for $5,000 for events and awareness and for donations. Let me explain those a little bit. The events and awareness, the health department received a $1,000 grant to help with awareness, or if they get somebody from the state that they could have items there, like they had a state called a meeting, and they had like breakfast items there for those state called people. That's the $1,000. And then donations, sometimes people, when they come and get shots or when they come and get stuff, they make donations and they keep that money, they keep track of it. And they'd like to use the $4,000 for a blood draw, a piece of equipment that they can take with them and it's less invasive. And so they'd like to use it to purchase that. So that's the two things they want to do with that money.
Okay, any discussion on that or any questions on that? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve that $5,000.
I'll give a motion.
Okay, Ryan has made a motion, may I have a second? Meredith seconded, so any other discussion? As all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Okay, and then as well for the health department, they've received a cooperative agreement public health crisis grant, and they still have some funds remaining in that grant. We did budget for some of this for this year. That grant goes from, I think it goes from July to June, and it was extended, and they're hoping it may get extended again, but they have some money left over in there, and they'd like to continue using it for a clerk that's already there, a PRN, which is nurses on call, FICA, perf, and insurance, in the total amount of $104,488. We won't need a salary on this because we've already got these people in place. They're just gonna continue that grant on.
Okay. So any questions or discussions on that? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for that personal service of $104,488.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Someone has made a motion, may I have a second?
I'll second.
Ryan seconded, so any other discussion on that? Otherwise, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Under the statewide 911 surcharge money, Stuart was here last month discussing the need for the overtime and holiday pay in the amount of $40,000.
Yeah, I don't think,
That's what we talked about
We've
last
already
time.
talked about
He was here discussing it last time.
Any questions or discussions on that? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second motion.
Doug, was that you?
Yep.
Doug and Ryan? So, okay, any other discussion on that? Otherwise, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
The county, there is an endowment from the community endowment for fountain maintenance at the courthouse. Scott needs $500 for some repairs to it. So it's a dedicated fund just to be used for that fountains.
Okay, so that's part of that fund, okay. So, any questions on that, discussions? So hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve that $500 for fund repair.
Yeah, I'll give a motion for that.
I can second.
So
I found it fixed.
Ron,
That's not too controversial, I don't think.
We have the money and it's the only thing you can use it for. It's pretty simple.
so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
The St. Charles Annex Maintenance Fund, we receive money every month for the WIC department that rents space in the annex, and that money is put in the St. Charles Annex Maintenance Fund. Scott does need $5,000 for the repair and maintenance of that annex building.
Okay, any discussion there or any questions? Scott's not here to answer it, but, okay, so otherwise I'll entertain a motion to approve that $5,000. Okay, made a motion, I'll second it. So any other discussion? Otherwise, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I don't know if he has any exact things right now. That's just a fund that budget, so that gives him a budget.
Okay.
Don't have a note for this. I did not make a note of this one, but Scott, repair and maintenance, $4,575 for repair and maintenance at this building.
The courthouse,
Yeah, I didn't,
that's not that, is that the same as the,
oh, it is the air conditioning, so we don't need that
I
one.
was gonna say,
That is the
that's,
same amount, so we won't need that one if we do it out of the other fund.
so we do we have time to
Mhm.
pay him, get it advertised or whatever?
I don't think he's ordered this yet.
Okay. We got approval, but, so we can delete this one.
Yeah, this one, we can just nix this one.
And that's gonna be paid out of the LA.
TCF fund.
They don't have any rhyme or reason to them. I guess they do when you.
So we will not do that one. I guess we should sign no on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brains.
I did lay what I advertised for the annual report. You have all the funds. I know it's a little tiny, but that's what's gonna be, that was what's advertised. Here's the actual long report, if anybody wants to see it. It was filed, so this is what they'll come and have, when they do our audit, they audit our financials from this. Takes a lot of paper. It's all the funds, the investments, the inventory, fixed assets, pensions, receipts, disbursements, money that we've given to other units, grants, federal grants, I should say. Trying to think what else. I think I know what off the top of my head. I've been working on for 2 months. Transfers. Hmm?
Yeah, we have.
I was gonna say, I think it should be required reading for all new companies.
Due by tomorrow morning and.
Okay. So a couple of things, I was just gonna talk about a couple of meetings that I think we were all involved with the sheriff's meeting on February 13th, public meeting he held out of VUJC, others, I think there's 3 of us that went there, so, I mean, I think it was reported in the paper and stuff, but it was just a public information meeting. It wasn't, any kind of representation from the council. On the 15th, we had a construction meeting at the Justice Center up there. It seems like everything's still on schedule. For the community corrections, naturally is the next thing that gets finished. There's some changes there, but it seems like it's going well. They feel that they're still on schedule. And then on the 16th, I had a DuBois Strong meeting, and basically what we covered there was Clayton Boyles from the DuBois County Foundation was there, and he spoke, and he basically was just telling us what, between the Lilly grant and the and public private donations, they were able to basically build that Dove House or finish that out, and then they're really concentrating on helping with the next step, men's recovery. So that's really basically, and then we covered the financials and stuff, which I don't think we got time to get into that tonight. So, but it's very thankful for everybody's assistance on getting that Dove House moving. Then on the last Thursday, Wednesday, February 22nd, I think we all attended the district, county council meeting, that was Southwest District that was held over at Huntingburg Event Center. I think that was pretty rewarding to be able to meet a lot of the officers came down from different parts of the state, but I thought that was very well handled. And it seems to me that those specific to the county council, I think I learned more of those than I do of any, when they have the whole meeting. So it's good. So I didn't know if anyone else had attended any meetings. I just wanted to get mine out right here first. But if it, like the Dubai Strong meeting, that's usually just a quarterly meeting. So, but I thought we'd at least report if we do attend meetings. So
I haven't had one since
Okay.
this month.
I had the EMA advisory board meeting, so we did a restructure. It was kind of new, electing a president, vice president, secretary, and then talked about the different training that they are involved with. They had LEPC, that's Local Emergency Planning Committee. They have a tabletop exercise every year, which is inside, and they simulate different scenarios. And then they also have one where, I believe one year, they went to the Huntingburg Farbest or one of the factories there and simulated a chemical spill or some other type of emergency, and how the different agencies, fire, EMS, EMA, all the different emergency agencies respond to that and follow the plan that they had set up. So they had to cancel the one from last year due to wind and rain, didn't want to damage the equipment and stuff, so they changed it to a tabletop. So they were talking about that. Also, they talked about different grants that they received, and one was that they received the EMPG salary grant, which is a reimbursement of both Narissa and Tammy's salaries. They got $43,400 or $224.48, which is approximately half, 47% of their pay, and they've gotten that for the past, several years now. And they continue to get that because of the different requirements that they meet as part of different items that they have to do as part of their job. So they receive that. So we get that. It doesn't directly go to them. It goes to the fund, the general fund, right?
It's back to Canada.
So they basically we're paying them half of what.
They meet
we
their certain
actually pay.
requirements so that we get the money back.
Yeah, so they get that reimbursement back, so we're really only paying half.
But like on the budget, it reflects the total amount that they're compensated. It's just that knowing that piece.
Knowing that, yeah, because in the past, that wasn't clear or anything like that, and it has fluctuated throughout the years. Some it's lower. It's based on the county's population. So they get that amount now. The population grows, they get more, less, whatever, but it's been approximately 50%, and I have the different amounts for the past several years of the grants that they pulled in over from 2007 to 2021, and I didn't have access to the last year's, but overall they pulled in about $3 million as far as grants and reimbursements and everything else. So I made some notes on this. They get a bonus grant in years past that kind of went away. There's talk that it's going to come back, so that's going to be even more. That gets different furniture, different things for their office, for others as
Can I ask
well.
a question? Do you know, do we differ from other counties? Are they surprised information for these grants, and they just already know how to apply for those? Or is this something that everybody does in every county in Indiana?
These are tough grants to get, and we were fortunate to have Gary for the longest time and be a guru and work very well to get all of these grants. And he's kind of in that whole overlap of his time and the rest of his time was able to teach and to kind of show how it works. So she's been doing a really good job of actually getting those grants and continuing with that as we go on. And so what else was there? they discussed the jail move. They're projecting that they'll be moved over sometime in the end of the year. Talked about meeting dates, the readiness assessment. It's an award that counties receive for having their it's an assessment accountability tool that counties are assessed on, and that's part of their pay reimbursement. Talked about their mitigation plan, the comprehensive emergency management plan. Each county has to have a plan for different scenarios, and that has to be updated. And they're currently working on this year's update and getting that ready. They usually get it well ahead of time. Our EMA office was pretty proactive about getting that started when they found out that was something that would have to be eventually put forth. Talked about siren updates. There are some sirens that need to get some care with, so we might see that coming here after a while. Currently, they're using a simulcast frequency, and the frequency is extremely busy. So, and it's interfering with its sirens, like the fire EMS, and it's interfering with the sirens and stuff. So they're trying to work out a fix for that. A lot of times Tammy will have to sound it from, like the DuBois, she lives in DuBois, she'll have to sound hers from her truck and like manually put it in when it's being tested and stuff. So they're trying to work on moving all sirens off of that frequency to a simpler frequency to eliminate that disruption and hopefully fix that problem. So they're working on that as well to try to make everything more reliable and safer for the county as far as and we've had trouble with the sirens in the past. I know you guys have known that we have to have maintenance and stuff like that. So hopefully that'll help with at least the frequency that they use. They talked about training. We have a really good volunteer staff, a lot more than I think other counties, and they're really trying to recruit more younger people to be involved as well. So there's going to be an annual pipeline training, and they talked about other different trainings coming up here. And then future grant opportunities. Another thing, the cybersecurity grant, I wanted to talk about that, was something that Tammy, went for, and it cost about, total that she got for that cybersecurity grant was $34,500 this last time, and that's something that the state is really pushing, and the EMA is really pushing to kind of attack that as far as being, proactive on cyber attacks and all that. So we got that grant. And we're also in a program, a cyber ready program that was put on by Homeland Security. And I know Tammy's talking with Sandy about the logistics
Tammy and
of some
Bruce
of
and I
it.
are all on that committee.
Yeah, I'm on that committee and trying to figure out
We're getting
what
our cyber,
information to send and what and all that stuff. So
we're going through the cyber plan right now, trying to get it finalized.
right, and then I think
And we've been working
After
with the
that
state
is-
on a cyber pilot program,
that's
so
what this.
that's,
what we were
it's
talking
kind of
about
all
there.
marrying together in a way.
Yeah, that's what the state is really seems like they're focusing on to try to be proactive on getting ahead of this to make all the counties infrastructure. as,
We will be holding a
technology.
training, a cybersecurity training for the staff at our next risk management, which will be in May.
Other than that,
Okay, well, thanks for reporting.
it's a lot of stuff, but it was beginning of the year, so there's
Community corrections is gonna meet March 7th.
Okay. Yeah, because we're applying for a grant there, supposedly, feeding into a grant that we don't know I don't know if I really want to discuss that tonight. I can, but, but anyway, I think think community corrections, Wyatt's in charge of it, but it's, I better go through it here so you guys know it, but it's, the people up at, it's called the State of Indiana Opioid Settlement Match Grant. And, you know, we had $102,563.79 that was restricted, that we have to use, you know, for this type of thing. And then we had $43,955.91 for unrestricted funds. But anyway, I think Chad has been working with them mostly. Maybe you knew about it too.
I just know what Wyatt's been telling us to email. I haven't been working on it.
Okay. But let me just quickly, so you kind of know what we're doing. But the first item was to embed a mental health specialist in the Dubois County Sheriff's Office, who will be able to go with law enforcement on runs, provide services to individuals in the jail, and support law enforcement officers as they experience trauma and burnout. The second thing is to provide a peer recovery specialist who will be employed by the Dubois County Community Corrections and work across the intercept to provide coaching, support, connection to resources for individuals that as they enter the jail and move through the system. And then the third one is to provide a tele-emergency program through Memorial Hospital and Healthcare Center that will be a bridge for people who need behavioral health services supports while they are waiting to enter community-based services. And then the fourth thing is to provide resources for tools and supplies for community corrections to support cognitive behavior therapy programming and incentives for clients. The fifth thing is to provide transportation option of bicycles for individuals who are in community supervision and need to go to appointments, work, and do not have access to a car. And then the sixth one is supporting the operational capacity of the Dove Recovery House, as well as the launch their Steps for Success program. And number 7 is supporting the operational capacity of the Next Step Recovery, which is a peer-managed sober living alternate for men. And then the 8th is strengthen the scope of interpretation services available across the system. And that is because of the high amount of Hispanic, not Spanish speaking, more or less. And then the 9th is sustain the Dubois County Resource Org website that provides a creative directory for services for individuals across the spectrum of needs. So that, Sandy, you signed a letter to at least initiate this, and we were going to give of that opioid money, we were going to give $50,000 for 2023 and $50,000 for 2024 if we get the grant. So if we had to submit this, I think this evening or this afternoon, they want to.
They wanted the letter today. They're going to submit tomorrow. But she said that all those services that he said were almost 900, so right under $1 million, and they needed a match from us. So we discussed the 100,000, 50 and 50. So they said that the state's getting 25 million,
That's what you had told me.
and they don't think that we'll get the whole million because 92 counties may apply for these. So if we only get part of it, we can lessen our match, or we can use our whole match. That'd be up to us.
And this is, I think Commissioner Chad said that this would only be funded for 2 years. It's
Right.
a 2-year program. So after that, any kind of
Any services in there would end.
that would end. So, but it is it's a perfect, to me. It covers everything that $100,000 opioid settlement kind of wanted to cover. So I think it's a win-win for us if we get.
So the match isn't a certain percentage then? It's
No.
just however much, and then they'll
No.
fund however much they have. So we could get,
She thought if we gave more of a match, it might help us get more of the, but she said there's only 25 million across the state, so.
She wanted to be the first out of the gate, so we get it out
First
there.
out of the gate.
But we would have to your point there, we would have, if we, we're kind of pledging 100,000, but if we would only, let's say, get bicycles, well then, we could back off. She's given us the opportunity, we'd only put 5,000 in maybe.
She explained to me, if we put in 100,000, say we're gonna commit 100,000, but we only wanna do 1,000 or 2,000, we can do that later on.
Who's applying for this?
It's like the third party
The
consulting.
community solutions
Yeah, the third party consulting group that community corrections utilizes.
works with.
She.
And this is the state opioid. Now, she said there might be some federal opioid that the next one, but this one's due right
And this is
now.
the JRAC committee too, she's on that JRAC committee.
And like Mike said, it's mainly therapeutic and remedial type things, and then you have a better chance to get those grants. And obviously that's, on the opioids, that's what they wanted to use for.
I think
But in general, that is trending that way for any grant for any
And
grant.
this is a 2-year grant that we're applying for then, basically, right?
I think Community Solutions is part of JRAC, which is part of who's applying for this.
Right.
Yes.
So,
And is the sheriff's department supporting this too then, or?
but he
has
I'm
nothing to do
assuming
with this?
He's part of JRAC.
I mean, he voted for it.
he's on the JRAC committee.
Okay, well, that's what I'm just asking, yeah, trying to make sure. everybody's
That's
okay.
Tom is on the JRAC.
So it wouldn't, it would begin in, July of 2023 is when we first get the first dollar, so. And then it would go till June of 2025, for 2 years, 2 years.
And we're year one.
State's on a
we're-
different fiscal year than we are.
Okay. So we're basically, the total abatement share that has a specific home for the opioid settlement, we're gonna use for this.
That's exactly
And the
right.
unrestricted, we can do whatever.
And then we'll get more money next year, but it won't be near.
No, next year, the unrestricted is 7,800 and 18,000 for the abatement.
I had given you guys this at the beginning of
Yeah.
this.
I've got it, that's what I'm looking at right now, that's where I'm getting
But anyway, just
my
so,
old scale study.
this, I don't think we vote on it, we don't need to vote on it, it's just for your information tonight.
No, if you guys would just be totally against us, then I'd have to pull that letter.
No, I think it-
Does anybody have any objection to this, or does anybody have any objection to using this? Or at least applying for, I think it
Yeah, I think we
multiplies our
should-
money.
We should try to see what we can get.
It's a great way to amplify the dollars.
Especially if not,
We just hope we get some of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
get some of it, be great.
But on the, I guess the last thing I got here, I believe, is a wage and benefit study, we're working on, Marky's continuing on and helping him. And Ryan has started putting some stuff on the spreadsheet. But, Marky sent us one of the counties, DeKalb County, that had done a wage study and paid, probably buku dollars for it. Where we're trying to do a little bit of this ourselves to try to get, we're looking at similar counties. But once we get the information together, then we'll break into committees and try to look at this.
The gentleman we sat with the other night was from DeKalb County.
Is that right, that? So
The main talker.
The one, yes, the one,
the legislative.
The legislative, Rick Long, I believe is his name, yes, that's where he's from.
Greg Ring.
Rick, there you go.
So, you gotta be patient here a little bit, so if we gather the information and, I've been trying to gather information on, like the ratio between the FBI ratio and what the other counties have, for population in the county. I mean, what I found out so far, we're not way off, with our existing, staff. So we'll just, again.
That's taking city and counties together.
No, it's just counties. Cities have their own,
Okay.
cities and towns, so at least we'll have the facts that we can look at and make decisions going from there.
I think we did that wage study, what,
16.
7 years ago and all that stuff. I mean, that was we can't throw that completely out.
No,
I mean, geez, I don't think,
no.
yeah.
Don't
So
get me
I think that was, I'm saying, they're probably starting from scratch. DeKalb's probably starting from scratch. We're already,
We got the.
we got the skeletal or the infrastructure.
And we've updated, it's not like we abandoned it.
Right, yeah, and we continually look at it every year. It seems like we're almost
I think what we
Almost
want to
every
do
other
is see,
meeting.
use it. I mean, use the format, like you're saying,
Yeah.
the bump their bones of it, and then just try to, update it to see, are we off somewhat here, you know?
I think that continual look at it, every year is
And I figure, I mean, we'll get this going, but then I don't see it being really initiated till budget time,
Mhm.
close to that time.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, anyone, I guess, public comments?
I don't have a public comment, but I have a quick question, but you could close the meeting.
Well, okay, so the next meeting, I got March 30th at 4:30.
And that is a Thursday.
It's a Thursday,
So
so
what's the
it's an odd, so otherwise, I'll just go down the line. Carol, you got anything more right now?
No, sir.
Right?
Nope, I'm good.
Sonia?
I do not. I
Maria?
also don't have any.
Alex?
No, I did talk to some first responders and EMTs that have been calling me about radio frequency signals. And since Doug said they talked about it with Tammy, I talked to Stuart and Tammy about it, and they're kind of addressing that issue. And they're getting some really staticky, when I get their calls, and they're concerned about it, so I just relayed the message to Stuart and Tammy, and Doug's group will take care of it, so.
Those radios are expensive.
Yeah.
And they're hard to get grants for anymore now, so
Well,
trying to figure
I
out.
know Tammy's been working on the
She's
radio
been
stuff.
trying to, I mean,
They're
that's,
resorting them or
yeah.
rekeying them or something.
Yeah, it's a
Oh,
whole
my head.
process. There was an issue, but yeah, she's been trying to work on it and get a solution there, so hopefully.
okay, well, thanks.
Do you have any questions about the numbers that I sent as far as the grants and everything that's been pulled in? I sent them.
Who's got those? You might want those back.
Oh, okay, yes, I've got it here.
The EMA numbers, yeah. That's just kind of, and that doesn't include last year's and what
So-
you've gotten so far this year.
So technically, Harold, you're the paper man.
I've got a couple more to sign that I didn't want
Okay, you have
to.
to make sure.
They're all right here together, they're organized in order.
Can you get
Meredith, the only thing I ask is that I can have that back whenever you're done reviewing it.
Can I have somewhere along the line in there?
I can,
I
As
can
long
be
as-
patient.
as long as
You
they
know,
want
in
it,
return for a CO or pass along or having.
as long as I get it back, because that's my only copy right now.
Voids, however, I don't want to interfere with it, I'd be interested looking as well.
Is it, you have it in email? You got a document that you can send or share a folder or?
It's a bunch of documents put together,
Okay.
and she's got all my copies, so.
This is the summary of it,
Okay.
This is.
That's a summary of the funds, beginning balances, receipts, disbursements, and ending balances. But that's all the detail.
Okay. Anything else? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to close the meeting.
Make the motion.
I'll second that.
Doug and Ronnie, all right, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Mark?
So quick question for you, probably to Mike. Everything I've looked into and stuff